Yes, sir. We're here, baby. What's going on, guys? It's Logan and it's EJ, man. Welcome back to SwampCast, baby, for a little special edition here on Wednesday. A lot of traveling going on. We're about to be headed to the Cure Bowl here in a little bit, man. Really excited about that. Going to be really fun to it's bowl season. Who doesn't love bowl season? All these ridiculous names, you know what I mean? And all the opt-outs. Who doesn't love that? But yeah, EJ, how you feeling on this Wednesday, man? Welcome to the state of Florida.
Yeah, we were trying to do this together, but it is what it is. Technology, we'll figure it out eventually. Um, Florida, man, I missed you. I like Orlando. Y'all got some traffic down here. What's going on? People moving in, they come to see you, Logan. You got lots of fans.
Yeah, a lot of New York fans, a lot of New Yorkers, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of people here in Orlando, so we're going to be going to the Cure Bowl later. It's fun to go to some of these bowl games. That's another topic for another day. How to get the bowls. A little bit people more excited about the bowls. A lot of teams opted out this year. Um, we have some players. I think both quarterbacks of the two teams that we're going to go watch are opting out of this game. So it'll be interesting to see like the backup quarterback bowl. But Logan, think about this. A year ago, was it a year ago today? So Florida played Tulane in the what was the bowl? Was it the Gasparilla
I
Bowl?
think it was the Gasparilla Bowl.
Think about this. So DJ Lagway was the MVP of that bowl game. Coach Summerall was the head coach of Tulane. Their quarterback Mensa had transferred to Duke, so they didn't have a quarterback. Billy Napier was coming off a 5-game winning streak. We were all on cloud nine. DJ's the future. Billy Napier's going to get another year. We're going to be a top 10 team next year. Fast forward a year later, Napier's fired. He's at James Madison. Lagway's in the portal. He was our MVP. And the Tulane coach is now our head coach. Like, what the heck is happening right now? So that's a year ago in the making right now, my friend.
Insane. I mean, crazy when you think about it. Yeah, that bowl gave a lot of Gator fans hope right there, man. Wild stuff. And you're right, a lot of guys opting out. It's kind of interesting, and not only guys, a lot of teams were scheduled. I think it's Southern Miss that they were scheduled to play, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe it's Southern Miss, the Golden Eagles, and teams opted out. They didn't want to play them. I think 5 teams, and finally one 5-7 team was like, all right, bet, let's do it, let's run it. And that
Yep.
sucks for the seniors. Think about the seniors of all those teams that weren't able to play. They thought, they had a chance to play in their last, college game, and obviously the guys going to the NFL are probably going to opt out. But there's a lot of guys who, aren't able to play at the next level, and that kind of sucks for them
Yep.
that these teams aren't able to, wanting to play for those guys. Sucks for the fans. I mean, I know, whenever I see, the Gators in a bowl game, obviously I want them to be in a, major game, but whenever I see them in like the Peach Bowl and whatever it is, and a bunch of these other big bowls, it's fun. It's another game. You don't want the season to be over. After Florida State, and so
Yep.
it's cool to always have another one. And I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for the players, but that's I guess they got to figure something out for sure. But yeah, man, gonna be a fun game. We're gonna go to in a bit. Can't wait for that. Gonna go watch EJ's nephew. Is he playing?
Yep. Number 22,
Let's
USF.
go.
There we go.
Let's go. He's a conference All-American, right?
First team all American Athletic.
There you go. Yes, sir. We love it. So we got a loaded show for you guys today, man. Got a lot of stuff we're gonna dive into. Starting out with kind of the a lot of new staff hires that have happened. Hires, a lot of rumblings. We're gonna get into all that. EJ, obviously head coach John Summerall, offensive coordinator Buster Faulkner. And then you have, I believe he's also going to work with the quarterbacks. And then we did hire an assistant quarterback coach, so we'll get into that. And defensively, we got Brad White, who I think should be helping out with the outside linebackers. That's what he did at Kentucky. So I'm assuming he's going to take over that role too. But EJ, I mean, we're going to get into some specific names here. The only positions that have not been hired yet is the running back coach, because we let Jaluk go, the tight ends, and for the defense, it's the inside linebackers. So none of those coaches have been hired yet, so those are going to be pretty interesting there. But a lot of assistants have been hired alongside some positional guys. So before we get into all the specifics, CJ, how do you feel that the hirings are going so far?
I feel good about it. I think when you look at the offense, um, you've got Phil Troutline, who's going to be the offensive line coach. I thought he was an outstanding player when he was here at Florida. He wants to be a Gator. I think this is exactly the kind of hire you want. He came from Penn State. Penn State had a really good offensive line for several years. When you look at Buster Faulkner's offense, his philosophy, exactly the style of play that breeds toughness and physicality, but also an offense that makes a lot of sense. So I'm really happy that he's kind of reshaping all that. And Marcus Davis, the new wide receiver coach, known as a really strong recruiter and technician at wide receiver. I think it marries really, really nicely with the true freshmen that we have this year, Vernell Brown and Dallas Wilson. Getting those guys to stay, I think they'll be able to connect with him really well. Keeping those two guys are absolutely critical when you think about what we're going to talk about a little bit later, which is our quarterback targets after DJ Lagway's transfer, which we're also going to talk about. And then defensively, I like the physicality. I like the hybrid defenses. You want to be able to have a hybrid multiple defense so that you can flex and adjust to the multiple styles of offenses that you're going to be playing. It's a lot harder to play defense, particularly as a true freshman, because you're not just learning one offense. You're learning 12 different offenses that you're going to have to play. And if you're able to have a really good style, simplified communication, it makes it a little bit easier to adapt and get better throughout the year. So feeling really good about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like a lot of these hires. It feels like he's definitely going more of a recruiting route as well with a lot of these hires. Like you mentioned Marcus Davis. I think that's a really good hire there in the sense of he's a great recruiter, like you stated. Developing the talent has been pretty solid as well. Not elite, but has been really good in some of his previous stops with that. And with Auburn, of course, bringing in Coleman and a couple of other big-time receivers there with the Tigers. So yeah, that's a great hire. You mentioned Phil Troutline as well. Old Gator, played off, I think won 2 natties with us, if I'm not mistaken, both 06 and 08. Guy who played in the NFL for a long time and not only developed guys. I think that's an elite hire, by the way. I think he's one of the top offensive line coaches in the country. I think, the physicality he brings to these guys. He brought in multiple 5-stars to Penn State and also developed those guys into, like you said, just one of the most consistent parts. I mean, James Franklin did a good job keeping that university pretty consistent, that team consistent. But, that offensive line has been pretty great the entire tenure there. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a great hire as well. We got an assistant quarterback coach in AJ Erdely. He's a guy who, now all these assistants I'm about to name off all came from Georgia Tech and came over with Buster. And so he's going to have a lot of his same guys there. So that Georgia Tech offense and physicality and like what EJ was talking about is going to probably be pretty consistent coming to the University of Florida. We'll see how it plays at the SEC level. But he's assistant to the with the quarterbacks, and Buster Faulkner also usually works with the quarterbacks. So I'm assuming AJ will kind of really take that. Another offense assistant we got Ryland Goek, a guy who once again came over from Georgia Tech. And then some of the analysts that we have, we got Emil Ekior, offensive lineman that was really good with Bama. That's an offensive line guy. Then we got Dylan Dockery, worked with the halfbacks there at Georgia Tech. And then we have Mike Pauley. That's another offensive line assistant kind of guy that he brought over. So very offensive line heavy with a lot of these guys, which I think is awesome. And that's an area that I think we really need to, focus on for sure. and make that kind of the strength of this offense, especially with Jaden Ball in the backfield, which, nothing but positive news regarding him, by the way. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, if Jaden Ball, he had a horrible offensive line this past year. I don't say horrible, but not good. Definitely bottom tier of the SEC. Imagine Jaden Ball behind a line that actually blocks for him, right? And that can make these massive holes. I mean, he can be scary. He at least makes the first guy miss, I would say, at least 80% of the time. So,
we definitely underperformed at offensive line relative to where we were supposed to be. We were supposed to be, I think, like a top 10 offensive line. We're supposed to look like A&M and Miami, and we just didn't. And yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that needs to be an area that needs to be magnified, and I think it's awesome that he's bringing a lot of these guys over, especially them leaving a offensive line guy in Brent Key. I think is awesome. Like that's that they're wanting to really make a name for themselves, and I'm excited to see that. EJ personally. Yeah, so that's kind of all the offensive side of the ball. That's kind of everything going on there. Like I said, the running backs and tight ends have not been announced yet. I think getting rid of Jaluk was a bad decision. And look, I'm trying to, Billy Gonzalez hurts, whatever, but Jaluk going, hurts a lot. I mean, dude, Texas picked him up right away. I mean, 2 days after they knew that, or they announced that they weren't keeping Jaluk, Texas went up and snagged him for the same position with them. And so hopefully he just stays away from Ball. And Ball can be a Gator and not go over to the Texas Longhorns. But yeah, Jaluk's, I think he's not only the best running back coach in the country, I think he's one of the best assistant coaches in the country. And so I get why Summerall got rid of him. He wanted to do a true clean sweep, of an offense that was struggling. He wanted to, probably not have a guy that slapped a player on his staff. You know what I mean? Like he wanted to have a kind of a clean slate there. But I still think that Texas picking him up right there shows that this is a highly sought-after guy, and I think we might have let him go a little too easy, personally, Jay. But
yeah, no, I agree with you. I think here's the thing. Like when you get a new head coach, which we all wanted a new head coach, right? We have to then also agree with what the new head coach's vision is and what he wants to bring in. And so, which does mean we're going to lose people from the staff. We're going to lose people from, the transfer portal. I do think it is reasonable to kind of question, some of the people we thought were responsible for the little success that we did have, like Jaluk. If we want to talk about that, like, the running backs that he brought through the system that he helped recruit, he helped get there, were all very, very good. I remember we lost. Montrell Johnson's development was exceptional. He came from Louisiana. You had Trevor Etienne, who, we were totally crashing out when he left. But then, what happens? Boom, we have this guy named Jaden Ball on the team. It's like no one knew who Jaden Ball was until he started running all over people.
Georgia wanted him as a linebacker, and
right. And Trayon Webb also is still on the team. Jacoby Jackson was a senior. He was injured all year. But Jaluk, I think, was one of the shining parts of the little success that we did have. So it's unfortunate to see him go, but I still support Coach Summerall, and I know that Jaluk is going to do really well at Texas. Unfortunately, hopefully we can up that ante. I kind of hate these bidding wars at this point. Like, if people are going to go because of a couple $100,000, it sort of is what it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. You brought up a great point, and I think that's something that the Gator fans got to do much better with. It's just, once again, supporting John Summerall. You know what I mean? We're not going to agree with everything that he does. We're not going to probably agree with a lot of it early on. But it's just about, like you said, seeing the vision and allowing this guy to truly take over the program and do what he needs to do. So yeah, I gotta trust him as much as it hurts. Tight end coach also gone. We were trying to get a positional coach there. I know we've been interviewing a lot of running back coaches. I haven't heard anything about tight ends. So we'll see what happens with that position group, EJ. But I mean,
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of like tight ends were a staple of the Billy Napier offense, even though they really couldn't run and couldn't catch. So uh, one thing that I didn't do before this, and that because I was going to look up the tight end utilization, and maybe I could do that as we're talking. How often does Buster Faulkner utilize the tight ends relative to wide receivers when it's our wide receivers who are the playmakers, not our tight ends, right? So um, that was one thing that was very frustrating to me. Watching our offense, I'm like, we got 6 or 7 dynamic wide receivers, but we're targeting the tight ends like 40% of the throws. So it's like doesn't make any sense. So not having a tight end coach right now is kind of like not the biggest concern I have about where we are right now. We got our wide receiver coach. We got 2 good wide receivers. We got some wide receivers in a recruiting class. Maybe pick one more up because we did lose Aiden Mizell. Let's see where we go.
for sure. I'm looking at the stats right now for Georgia Tech and that offense, and you can look up more specific ones if you want. But their 2 tight ends had a combined. That's about 400 yards, over 400 yards receiving this year. One with 11 receptions, the other one with 13, and so they were averaging like 15, 20 yards a reception there. And so they were definitely utilized a lot in that passing game for sure.
Oh, that's
This
great.
past season. So, but these are athletic guys. These are guys who can turn it upfield. These are guys who, can catch a ball. And so it is funny you say that, right? I mean, the tight ends, we were always in 12, 13 personnel, and we nothing against tight ends we had, but they just weren't built for that kind of offense. We didn't have any Kyle Pitts out there. We didn't have any, Brock Bowers or Tyler Warrens. It was just kind of the average kind of players. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in that position group. Going to the defensive side of the ball, defensive coordinator Brad White, obviously overlooking everything. Like I said, he in his I think the past like 5-6 years has been operating the offensive or the outside linebackers as well. So we don't have an inside linebacker hire, I don't believe yet. But we did retain the defensive line coach, Gerald Chapman. I feel like he's done a pretty good job with this defensive line for the Gators, and we have a lot of dogs out there, man, with Jaden Woods, and we got Sapp and Banks and all those guys. I mean, he's done great, so I love that retention there. DBs, we're bringing in Brandon Harris. He was a co-DC at FAU, and then obviously went over to the UCF Knights. Now, UCF Knights, 89, grade on PFF and coverage, and so it was a really good secondary with the guys that they had out there. And so very excited to see what Brendan Harris can do. And the fact that he has some co-defense coordinator experience, I think is awesome as well. That never hurts. So really excited for Brendan Harris.
And UCF fans weren't too happy that he left. So that makes me feel good.
89 coverage grade. That's all. It's in the Big 12 with some of those offenses. Like, I think that's awesome. So love to see that. Safeties. UCF fans are never happy about anything. Safeties, Chris Collins, really solid hire here. He is coming over from Kentucky with Brad White. He was actually also a co-DC, but this was at Kentucky. Worked with the DBs there. I believe brought the first ever first-round pick in the secondary for Kentucky like a year ago, I believe. And so he's developing these guys really well, understands Brad White's tendencies, and works really well with him. So I think that's also a very good hire. I think these are, A-B hires here, and definitely very excited for this side of the ball. And then, like I said, Brad White, outside linebackers, and then inside linebackers. We'll see kind of what happens there, EJ.
Yep. And, I don't feel – I think Brad White, doing the outside linebackers is kind of on par with his style. We're going to have like a 3-4, 4-2-5 type of look where those linebackers are going to need to be able to cover in the flats and blitz. And so it's a simple thing. Hey, you're out here, guess what? You're covering this shallow zone or you're getting the quarterback. we're not going to have you doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different things. And the next thing you know, over the top touchdown, which, but also Brad White's defense, which is what I kind of like about it, is um, it's kind of like this umbrella style, kind of like Ron Roberts almost, where it forces the other team to have these long drives down the field, um, and hopefully we can force a mistake, as opposed to quick bing bang boom touchdown. Now we're down. Except for when you play Texas A&M, because that was like we score, we win it, we're winning, and then 2 plays later it's touchdown Texas A&M. So there you go.
Yeah, no, for sure. What's cool about Brandon Harris and Chris Collins though is both the defenses they've been with have been very good, like turnover wise, especially what Brandon Harris did at FAU and at UCF. I believe
Hmm.
I don't know if it was the FAU year. I think it was the UCF year. This past season, there wasn't one game where they didn't have a turnover. So I think that's awesome. Might have been FAU. But this guy understands turnovers and how important that is. So really excited to see this defense. Like you said, they play the umbrella look. I don't love that with certain teams, but I do love a 3-4 defense. I love a 3-4 defense, dude. And we got the linebackers out there to do it with Miles Graham, by the way. Spoiler alert for later on segment, announcing he's coming back. Ty Jackson, bunch of these young guys back there. I mean, and Ty Jackson, we saw him, and that dude flies around the field, right? Miles Graham flies around the field. And I think this can be a dirty, dirty little group here, especially if we can maybe get a transfer in there, a big experienced guy as well. I'm very excited for this defense, EG. I think they have the opportunity to be nasty. So very excited about that. The
Yep.
two other empty spots we have is the strength and conditioning coach and the special teams. So we'll see what fills those. So that's 5 positions that we have to fill. Everything else is good to go. It's running backs, tight ends, inside linebackers, strength and conditioning, and special teams. And I'm sure some like behind the
And
scenes stuff.
those are two really important positions, like special teams and strength and conditioning. Um, those are critical positions. Um, you know, um, Probably two of the positions that we think are not really affecting the game, but strength and conditioning is basically your foundation. And we don't have that much time between the end of the season and the start of the season. You have like 6 months to get these bodies in shape, which is really, sometimes it takes like a year or two to get these guys, especially the true freshmen, up to par to playing in the SEC. And that's something that I don't think Billy Napier did very well. I mean, the strength and conditioning at UF, um, I think, was good for, and I hate to agree with this guy, but it kind of makes sense when you look at the number of injuries and the attrition that we take over the course of the season. Yes, we had a very difficult schedule that was really unfair, relatively speaking, to the teams made the playoff. But I think Princely Umamielen, remember he made a comment last year when he left Florida and is now at Ole Miss, said, we were training like we were on the track team as opposed to the football team. And at Ole Miss, I'm training like I'm playing football, there's physicality, and then we beat their ass in the game, which was funny. But anyway, I agree with that because when you look at our wide receivers, they get touched, they're injured, they're out for the year. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, Eugene Wilson, maybe it's him, or maybe it's just the fact that they haven't developed his body in a way to take some of the physical hits. Maybe the offensive philosophy puts him in vulnerable positions. I have no idea. I just know you breathe on him, he's hurt and out for the year. Same with Aiden Mizell. You touch him, he's injured, out for the year. Vernell Brown III, one of our most dynamic receivers, touch him, he's out for the year.
It's not only receivers too. I mean, you got Caleb Banks, L.J. McCray, Jacoby Jackson, DJ Lagway. I mean, you could go the whole. I mean, the Dijon Johnson, the whole. You go everywhere.
The running backs,
Tuck
defensive
Howard.
backs, Aaron Gates, who we
Mm.
loved. I thought he was going to be exceptional. He Somebody breathed on him. He's out for 2 years. So it's like, okay, guys, the injury list is 3 times longer than the opponents that we're playing. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Strength and conditioning has to get better to be able to go out there and compete against these teams that we're playing against. Oh, and by the way, in the SEC, they're playing against the same competition, and they got 2 or 3 guys that are out. We got like 15 to 20 players that are out. So strength and conditioning is absolutely key. You have to be able to be physical and deep enough to take the beating. And then the special teams, what was the biggest game that we won this year? It was the Texas game. And Texas has taken a lot of flack for losing that game, which it kind of reminds me of last year. Alabama didn't make the playoff because they lost to Oklahoma. And a lot of people were like, well, Oklahoma's trash. You shouldn't have lost to Oklahoma. I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, Oklahoma and Florida and both those upset wins were fully healthy. We actually had Dallas Wilson. There's another guy. He Something was wrong with his foot the whole year. They couldn't get his foot to work. So he was out the whole year. But the one game he was healthy, the one game he was 100, near 100%. What happened? He went off. Texas couldn't guard him. And over the middle, touchdown, throw a fade route. He's breaking 10 tackles to get to the end zone. We didn't have that at any other point throughout the year because he's hurt. Um, when we're fully healthy, we're very, very talented. And hey, we beat Texas. You have the 10th best roster in the country. You can do that any given Saturday. Um, but that game against Texas just showed the potential of this team when it comes to, you know, strength and conditioning, but also in that Texas game, the special teams. What happened in that game? We blocked a kick. We made a big special teams play that turned the game. And, Urban Meyer used to always say in games that you block a kick, you have a 90% chance of winning. So, special teams is very important. The only thing that was good on special teams was Smack, the kicker, who missed the kick in the opening game, made every kick all the way up until I think we missed one in the FSU game, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
Uh, but he had made everything in between, including like 55, 58-yard field goals. So the field goal kicking is great, but the punting was not great. The punt return, we didn't really have great punt return, kick return, you know. So, and then punt block, and then kick coverage. Those things have to give you a chance to, win these games.
You don't have an excuse either, especially for that. The punt returning and kick returning when you got all these athletes back there. You know what I mean? We got some of the fastest dudes in the SEC,
Yep.
and nothing's happening. And so I agree with you right there, EJ. So the punt it was brutal. It was brutal. But overall, I'm happy with how this staff is coming together, EJ. I mean, are you like on a scale of 1 to 10? How do you kind of grade this? Greatest at the moment. I'm probably giving it a nice 8. I think the running backs. I think that's a big one for me. Who are you going to get at running back? Because I think that also is going to be a big decider for Jaden Ball. I'm assuming they have someone and they just haven't said it yet. They'll definitely have one before the portal opens up the 2nd. And so, God, that's a long way away. So they'll have one in the next couple of weeks for sure. Because obviously they need to get one for Jaden Ball and tell him, yo, this is someone. So, because if not, he'll just dip. Probably to Texas. So we definitely need to get a running back coach. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I'd give it probably an 8.5. You know, eh, uh, the thing is a lot of people praised our roster in the offseason for being a very talented roster, right? And Billy Napier, I think, to his credit, did bring in some talented guys that were capable of winning games. And they kind of showed you that by keeping some of these games close. And then for whatever reason, the depth and the injuries were just too much in the fourth quarter against teams like Texas A&M, Georgia, Miami, LSU, Ole Miss. That's crazy to think. Like I had to reel off like 4 playoff worthy teams in a row. But if you watch all 4 of those games, that it was a very similar story. We're hanging in there, hanging in there. We had the lead, and then boom, you fall off a cliff in the fourth quarter because you can't score and you don't have the depth to remain fresh enough to be giving 100% in the fourth quarter. And then your offensive coordinator was terrible. So fixing that, and then also retaining some of the best players from this roster, I think is absolutely key. Offensively, obviously with Jaden Baugh, that is absolutely critical because when you think about what you could build around a star running back is absolutely, the sky's the limit. Complementing that with Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown III, who I'm really confident Vernell Brown III and Miles Graham both coming back because obviously they grew up Gators. Their dads were huge. They're players. Back in those days, you stayed at Florida for 4 years. They are diehard Gators. I do not see them leaving. But Dallas Wilson and Jaden Baugh, who are critical to the success of Buster Faulkner in the first year and critical to getting a good quarterback to come. Could you imagine that? If you're a quarterback, you have a decent offensive line and 2 really good receivers and a star running back that you can come play with immediately, that ups our chances of getting someone really good. So I'll just leave it at that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think having a decent offensive line is a disappointment. I think Phil will have them great. Maybe not great, but I think they'll be good, a lot better that first year. And I agree. I mean, you got to think Buster Faulkner's coming off of the award for best coordinator in the country, and our best offensive coordinator in the country. And so this is an elite hire. Will that work in the SEC? We'll see what happens, but it's not a bad hire. I think it was the right one to make. We'll see what happens there. But I agree. I think Jaden Ball really is the big one. But, yeah, I mean, Dallas Wilson will be massive because we'll have Vernell, we'll have Dallas, and some other weapons, too, that we could definitely bring in. So that'd be exciting there. All right, so that's kind of the whole staff thing. We can kind of dive into roster with the portal news, EJ, if you want me to just kind of name off some guys.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to name off all the guys. Well, we mentioned Miles Graham announced it. I think is the only guy that actually has announced, but I expect Vernell to stay as well. The guys that are leaving, we have DJ Lagway, which entered his name into the portal, and that kind of started off a trend here of Aiden Mizell, running back KD Daniels, tight end Amir Jackson, safety Jordan Castell, safety Josiah Davis, defensive back Teddy Foster, defensive tackle Travion Brown, wide receiver Moise, these names, Moise Tonkara, and offensive lineman Marcus Maskell, 4-star guy that came in this past cycle. And so those are all the guys that have officially entered their name into the portal as of starting this podcast, as of December 17th at 1:06. Some of these do hurt. Obviously, the big names, I would say, is the first 4. We have DJ Lagway, Aiden Mizell, KD Daniels, Amir Jackson, and Jordan Castell. Now, Jordan Castell, I don't think was that great, so that one doesn't really hurt too bad, in my opinion. He just had a really hard time tackling. Tied in Amir Jackson, he was a guy coming out of high school I was really excited for, EJ, but obviously he never beat out Hayden Hansen or Tony Livingston, so there's definitely a talent, or just, I don't know if it was the offense or what. I know that Billy Napier does, have his favorite players as well, and so maybe Amir just never got that chance. But a guy who's very athletic, great size, a guy who I thought was going to really be great in this. We talked about it. I mean, I don't know if we talked about it, but the Gator Nation talked about it. We've had tight end struggles the entire Billy Napier era, and we brought in a very good tight end in Amir Jackson, I believe a 4-star guy, good receiver, and just never got anything going. Running back KD Daniels, a guy who got some carries after, of course, everyone decided to get hurt in the running back room. And fast guy, really quick dude. I think he'll be good, and at a I don't know at an SEC school, but definitely at another conference. I think he can definitely dominate with his speed alone. Aiden Mizell, I think, hurts. Couldn't stay healthy, but I think a really good receiver that whenever he did have the ball in his hands, DJ, he was phenomenal. And a guy who I think if he can get in the right system and put on a little bit of pounds and stay as agile as he is, I think that's a wide receiver one at the SEC level if he can get a better physique there and stay healthy. And DJ Lagway, of course, leaving, a guy who I don't think it hurts that bad, but I do think that there is now a need to go obviously get a quarterback. We do have Trammell. He hasn't put his name in or anything, and I think it would be dumb for him to put in his name because I think even if we bring in some of these quarterbacks, we have 3 or 4 quarterbacks or 4 quarterbacks we're gonna talk about. I think he still has a chance to either win the starting job or to definitely compete with any of those guys. And so, but DJ Lagway leaving does suck. I mean, they talked about it. It seems like DJ wanted to stay. John Summerall and Buster Faulkner didn't want to probably pay him $4 million in NIL because he wasn't showing that, and DJ probably didn't like that very much and got out. So, EJ, what do you think about the players that are leaving? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, great overview. This is sort of the norm of college football, especially when you have a new coaching staff. And in fact, I think we're actually doing really, really well with the fact that we have a new coaching staff. But I also think, relatively speaking, a lot of other major programs also have new coaching staffs. So players are probably laying low, trying to see what their new coaches are all about before the portal really starts to get hot here coming up. And as the playoffs sort of, teams started to get eliminated, we'll start to see a little bit more traction potentially. But when you look at DJ Lagway, who knows what happened? I mean, it's going to be he said, she said. At the end of the day, I'm just going to chalk it up to, our coaches came in and did an assessment, and it's a no-brainer. Like, if Sumrall and Faulkner, particularly Faulkner, wanted DJ Lagway to stay, I'm sure they had an initial conversation, and maybe that initial conversation didn't go as either of the sides planned. DJ is a high-profile NIL player who many people thought was given too much uh what's the word? He was coddled by Billy Napier. Billy Napier never really challenged his work ethic, his play on the field, and how the practice and how he was practicing, how that translated into performance on the field. Because it's a two-way street. Like, if you're practicing at a certain level, well, first of all, he was injured the whole offseason and was allowed to just start and play, regardless of the fact that, we only scored 1 touchdown against USF. Even though USF has the number 1 defensive back in the nation, that's not acceptable for a Florida quarterback to go out there and lead a team to 1 touchdown against USF. Then the very next week, you come back and you throw. Was the next week the Miami game,
I
or was
believe.
that LSU? I think it was Miami.
Yeah.
And then you go on the road to Miami, and maybe you're injured, maybe you're not. It doesn't matter. You're out there playing, and we gained 30 yards in the first half of offense, which you should be able to do that in 1 play. And we got that in the entire first half. Then the very next week, you go on the road again to Baton Rouge, and you throw 5 interceptions. And some of these interceptions were just ugly, like just plays that that you're taught to not do, like running the opposite end of the field, throwing the ball across your body to the other end, up in the air. It just inexcusable quarterback play. And, I think John Sumrall and Buster Faulkner probably did the film study. They probably talked to him, and that conversation was like, we want to hear from you that your expectation, DJ, is you want to compete for this job. We are not just going to be a brand new coaching staff. We're not Billy Napier. So let's get that straight up. Your performance last year was you were literally the worst quarterback in the SEC, but you were probably the highest paid quarterback in the SEC. Something is off, brother. So you're not going to just be the starter. So you're going to have to work for that position if you want to stay on this team next year. And you're going to have to prove to us that you are going to earn that job. And he didn't like that. Either he didn't like that, or the money is better somewhere else. And another thing that I'll say is most of these players already have a really good idea of their top two or three choices when they get when they announce that they're going in the portal anyway. A lot of these players don't just, especially the high profile ones. A lot of the high profile players have a good idea of where they're going to land when they get in the portal, which is why when you get in the portal, usually like a few days later or a week later, you know who they're transferring to. So I don't see DJ Lagway necessarily going to a place where he would have had to fight for the starting job to begin with, because it's kind of like you could have stayed at Florida if you really wanted to be a Gator, like you're saying, and fought for the starting job and proved to the new coaching staff that you want to be the starter, versus going to like a Miami, where Miami wants a quarterback that is ready to come in and play immediately. Same with LSU. They don't want to have to like unteach you all these bad mechanics that you're doing. So that's why I'm thinking like a team like a Baylor or a Texas Tech, or even a Georgia Tech or like a Kansas State, a Power Four school that's a little bit step below, that he can come in immediately, be the starter, be the highest paid player, whatever. Um, I don't see him going to somewhere where they're going to tell him, "Hey, you're going to have to compete for the starting job. You're not going to be just. It's not just going to be handed to you." Um, so that's the thing with DJ. And the other thing that I'll say is, I know a lot of Gator fans are unhappy, and this is the other thing I hate about NIL, because there were thousands and thousands and thousands of DJ Lagway jerseys sold. And now a lot of people are sitting there with DJ Lagway number 2 jerseys that they spent $100, $200 on, and he's no longer on the team. So all I say is just buy just the generic jersey, unless like you really want to support the player, you really love the player, because you never know. It's going to be like, what are you going to do with that jersey now? What are you going to do with all this paraphernalia that you bought? Just save your money for players who graduate as Florida fans, or graduates, or get a jersey with your name on it or something, because I feel for all these people that are like, what am I supposed to do with this Lagway jersey? Um, and these other players I think are fine. We're going to get a really good quarterback into the system that is going. I have 100% confidence that this offense is going to look significantly better next year with the staff and with whoever they bring in to play that quarterback position. I seriously doubt we will have the lowest rated quarterback in the SEC next year. And I seriously doubt we will have an offense that can't score more than 14 points in SEC games on average. I seriously doubt that with this scheme. Even if you brought over, um, you know, the exact Georgia Tech offense over here, and you replace the quarterback, we would have been significantly better of an offense than we were this year. So that's why I'm thinking that I think it's going to be better. And you look at Haynes King, and this last thing I'll say, who's the quarterback at Georgia Tech. He was a similarly highly rated quarterback as DJ Lagway was, in Texas. He was at Texas A&M, and It didn't work out at Texas. He was not a great player. The scheme that worked. He went to like a lower school like Georgia Tech, found a quarterback, an offensive coordinator who was going to make the offense around him, and he excelled. And that's what I think probably will happen with DJ. I think he'll be fine. He just needs to find that school that he can start at. They'll build the offense around him, his strengths, and I think he'll be fine. Hell, Colorado with Coach Prime would be a potentially great place for him to go if Prime is willing to. He wants somebody that's going to work too, but who knows? He likes the all the things that are out there. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything. Well, you talked about quarterback. Let's dive into the tracker here. We got 4 quarterbacks that we can talk about that the Gators have their eyes on that are, it's proven that they've talking to. Number 1, you mentioned Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt, a guy who dealt with some injuries this year, but
Yeah.
someone who obviously has playoff experience in a system where they do like to run the ball, you know what I mean, similar to Buster. I do think that is probably the number 1 quarterback that we need to be going after. He's, very athletic with his legs, very consistent passer, but like I said, is coming off of an injury, but I think that's the obvious number 1, EJ. So I like that for sure.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about Sam Levitt, he's definitely, I think, should be the number 1 target because he fits exactly what Buster Faulkner wants to do. He's 60% completion rate, I think, before, with the injuries, I think is not that great. He played, I think, 6 or 7 games, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, only about 6.81 yards per attempt. But on his career, he has an 88.9 PFF grade, which is 12th among all the FBS quarterbacks of the last 2 years. And that's including his time at Michigan State and Arizona State up until his injury. 4,600 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, I think is great. 435 yards rushing on 51 scrambles. When you look at Sam Levitt's overall style, he's not like a Haynes King, like we're going to set you up to run right up the middle. But he's a guy that could extend plays and give you that 3rd or 4th option of the quarterback run if the play breaks down with maybe 1 or 2 design quarterback draws. We saw they do that with DJ Lagway, I believe in was it the Georgia game where we actually saw him hit a quarterback draw right up the middle for the first time like ever. We'll probably see that kind of play from Sam Leavitt in a Buster Faulkner offense, but Leavitt's going to be the highest sought after quarterback, which is going to make it very difficult for us to really land him. So we'll see, but hey, if we got him, it would be amazing.
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely number 1 guy. Second is the number 4 quarterback in the transfer portal, which is Notre Dame quarterback Kenny Minchey, redshirt sophomore, number 4 quarterback of the 2023 class, a guy who's been at Notre Dame ever since. A guy who obviously doesn't have a crap ton of a lot of time, obviously throwing the football, but in 2025 he did go 20 for 26. It's a 77 completion percentage, 200 yards, 2.5 yards a pass. Mainly played when they destroyed Purdue. When he went 7 of 8 in that game for 58 yards. So a very talented guy, a guy who, can run the ball, can be athletic, but mainly is a passer. And so he's my number 1 or my number 2 behind Sam Leavitt for sure. I think he's just very talented. He throws a beautiful ball. I've been watching him for a few years. I think he'd be a good pick, EJ.
Yeah, he would definitely fit Faulkner's like quick game, RPO kind of structure. He was in more of a pro style with Notre Dame a little bit, but 6'2", 215 pounds, rhythm passer, has a little bit of more mobility. Definitely can be kind of like a point guard at quarterback, distributing the ball very, where it's supposed to go. I think he'd be good. He'd be good. I think if we got him, Tramel Jones, I think, would also be heavily in the mix.
Oh yeah,
It'd be a battle.
Yeah, no, I think with any of these guys, I think Tramel Jones is definitely taking a step forward. I mean, we saw how great his fundamentals were, and now he has a whole offseason and a definitely more athletic guy in Tramel. And yeah, I'm really excited for Tramel Jones. Next guy we have is the number 6 quarterback in the transfer portal, which is the Old Dominion quarterback Colton Joseph. He's a sophomore this year. Was the 71st quarterback in 2023 class. I think he threw for 20. Let me see his stats real quick. Threw for 2,600 yards this past season with 1,000 yards on the ground. So when you say an Old Dominion quarterback, everyone goes, "Oh my God!" I was talking with a guy about this today on Instagram, and he was like, "Well, he's playing, in the Sun Belt and blah blah blah." We've seen a lot of quarterbacks transfer up. Cam Ward being one of them, and we see what those guys can do when they pop off at that level. Now he did have, I believe, 60%, not even 60% completion percentage. He was 0.2 off of that. But overall, no, sorry, that's his past year. He was 0.3 off of getting a 60% completion percentage. But you also got to realize the talent that he's playing with. He did throw 10 interceptions. But you're going to get in there and try to make things happen when you're at that level. So I think this is that would be a great pickup for the Gators, in my opinion. I mean, any guy that has 2,600 yards on in the air and then 1,000 on the ground, he catches my eye. I don't care what level he's at. And we look at what Trinidad Chambliss is doing with Ole Miss, right? Like that level shouldn't be a big issue, especially with Old Dominion having, I think, the third worst or second worst roster in the Sun Belt, and the fact that he performed like he did with having a really bad roster around him, one of the least talented teams in college football, I think is a big testament to show that he is coachable and can make things happen with the talent that it's around him. So, like I said, I believe he's a true sophomore, and so next year he'll be a junior. I think it'll be a great pickup for Florida and a good battle between him and Tramel Jones.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's definitely got the dual threat situation going. 2,600 yards passing at Old Dominion, and he was 1,000-yard rusher this year. So I remember, in the Florida State game, we gave the ball to Jaden Baugh, 39 times for him to get over the 1,000-yard mark on the season. And Colton Joseph is a quarterback that, on 158 carries, got 1,000 yards. So that was big. Old Dominion also played Indiana this year, and the margin of victory was, let's just say, a lot less than when Indiana played majority of their Big Ten games. It was a 13-point loss for Old Dominion in the opening game. Now, Joseph didn't have a dynamic. He was 50% completion in that game, only 96 yards passing, but Indiana has one of the better defenses in the country statistically. And it was just slightly worse from his season average. He's, 60% completion on the year, 9 yards a pass, had a 98-yard pass this year for a touchdown, and 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So he'd be a really solid Trinidad Chambliss style player coming from a smaller school to a bigger program. I think with a Buster Faulkner toughness and a John Sumrall type of style play, Florida would be a great option for him.
I agree, and that 78-yard rush, I believe, came in the Indiana game. I think that's when he had the big rush, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's quick, man, and he's a dangerous dude out there. So California boy, but would not mind him down there in the swamp. The next one that has kind of gotten a lot of traction, and I'm not big on it, is Georgia Tech quarterback Aaron Philo. He was a freshman this past year, obviously a redshirted. He's a redshirt this past season, a redshirt freshman, so he'll be a redshirt sophomore this year. Number, I think, 55 quarterback in 2024 in that class. They don't have him ranked as any of like the top, transfer portal quarterbacks at the moment. A guy who just didn't really get too much time at Georgia Tech. This year, though, did go 21 for 28, 75% completion percentage, 373 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. He did get more passing attempts in 2024, went 51% there. And is able to run the ball, by the way, pretty well. So, I wouldn't mind getting him. I think he'd be a good. I think at that point though, Tramel kind of has to step up and be that guy. Other than these other two, and Colton and Kenny or Sam. But I still think this would be a good depth piece to add.
Yeah, I think, this will be more of a does he want to follow Buster Faulkner to Florida type of situation. Um, and I don't know, maybe we'll see him because he's going to be playing the Pop Tarts Bowl, your favorite bowl. And maybe you'll go there and see him and get a Pop Tart
Oh,
and land
is he starting that game?
I'm not sure if Haynes King is actually going to play in that bowl game.
Yeah, let me see real quick.
So if he doesn't, then it'll be Philo's game to kind of show the world what he's made of. And that's against BYU at the Pop Tarts Bowl. So maybe you should go and get a Pop Tart and see. And we gotta ask people, what are their favorite Pop Tarts that are out there? I mean, I love a good strawberry frosted Pop Tart. You can't beat it. Some people go blueberry, but who knows? My
Okay,
grandma.
Haynes King is playing in the Pop Tart Bowl.
Oh, he's playing in the Pop
Yeah,
Tart. Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Maybe it'll be like a Cam Ward situation from last year's Pop Tart Bowl where he plays the first half and then your team has a chance to win, then you don't play the second half and then you lose.
that was insane. As you're
Yeah,
saying.
so that was crazy. And so he ate he ate too many Pop Tarts at halftime. He couldn't play in the second half. But no, I think Aaron Philo would be hey, I think if at the end of the day, if Buster Faulkner likes this guy, we like this guy, and I think he'll be good. His plan is to potentially enter the portal January 2nd. And, Florida is already reportedly in contact with him. So that may seem like a likely scenario to happen. But we'll see. I mean, his readiness to play immediately is still, I'm looking at some of these stats. I don't really see a lot of, it just looks like some garbage time, stats. But I like the 75% completion in the garbage time and a 191 rating. It's almost perfect. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, once again, not as ready to play as some of these other guys, and I wouldn't be too excited for it, but we'll definitely see what happens there. So those are some of the quarterback names that we've seen floating around. So you guys let us know your thoughts down below. EJ, anything else you want to say on transfer portal stuff before we dive into bowl picks and the reaction to the 2026 schedule?
Oh yeah, we definitely need to get these bowl picks because guys, you guys have to join our bowl challenge because let me tell y'all, we might need to give out a prize. A nice SwampCast shirt, SwampCast hat. You never know. Um, but the transfer portal in another episode, we'll talk about just what needs to be fixed with this whole transfer portal situation. Because Joel Klatt had a good point. I don't really like Joel Klatt. I think some of his takes are just for clicks, but he does make a good point recently about he was just sitting around and noticing how players are announcing they're coming back. Like, hey, I'm returning. And then everyone's like, yay. But it's kind of like, okay, so were you thinking about leaving? Like, that's the issue with this. If you're going to have the transfer portal and NIL together, there needs to be a guaranteed system where a player is coming back next year. There's no need to announce. It's like every year, every team is on pins and needles. If any potential player on your team, if everyone's a free agent every year, there should be only years where okay, this guy signed a 2-year deal. This guy signed a 3-year deal. So he's going to be here all 3 years. This guy only signed a 1-year deal. So he may go, like the fact that anyone can go is very confusing. So we want to hear what y'all's suggestions are, and we'll talk to you about what we think should happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's get into oh,
Yeah, no,
go ahead.
I mean, I think TJ Finley transferring to 7 schools in 7 years is totally acceptable. I think that's fine. Dude, you know what I mean? I think it's all right.
Exactly. It's like,
But
what are we doing?
yeah,
But here's the other thing. With that. From an investment standpoint, let's say you're the big money booster billionaire guy, which you are. You got that, sweet
Bull
magnolias.
Gator. Yep.
You're that bull gator. Um, I assume some of these people are so rich, billionaires, you can donate $10 million to the collective, and that's a tax write-off for you. And it's not really that big a deal because you're going to pay that $10 million in taxes anyway. But that's $10 million that could have been going towards an investment strategy, a portfolio strategy to make you more money. Instead, you've decided to do the tax write off and donate it to Florida. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, I just funded DJ Lagway's NIL this year. What the hell did I get for it?
Mm,
It's not, maybe I should just give that money to someone else.
mm.
Um, or, you know, and for him to leave. So it's kind of like,
It's a robbery. It's fraud.
yeah, it's fraud. So it's like, what is the return on investment? Now, in the spirit of NIL, it's supposed to be more of a marketing situation where, okay, I own a car dealership. You come in, you do the whole uh, uh, advertisement with me, which a lot of the deals are. It's, advertising, Nike, Gatorade, etc. But these collectives now take all the money, they hoard all the money, and they structure these NIL deals anyway, to me, fraudulently,
Hmm.
but it's still within the law to just say, oh, you have an NIL deal, but here's all the money. You don't really have to do anything. Like, what the hell is that? So we need to be making money. We need to be making revenue. We need to be making more followers. Um, and we're not really doing that, losing, 8 or 9 games. So hopefully we can turn that around, make the NIL pool a little bit greater. And I think Florida can easily get on a roll if we just start winning. Our fan base is going to get energized. The boosters are going to get more energized. They're going to be more into it, and they're going to want to give more money. But if we're sitting there losing all these games, you know, there you go.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I didn't even think about it that way. If you're a booster giving that money and this gets thrown away, yeah, that's terrible, man. So I think the way to do is contracts, and we'll get into that next week more for sure. But it needs to be contract based. Get the guy on for 3 years, um,
Yep.
even 2 years, even a 2 year thing. And then make it and then you can get into incentives, right? You can get into, okay, if you win 8 games, you get this boost. This is kind of the main thing, and then you could even do buyouts like you do in with coaches, right? If the other team really wants you, then they got to pay for you. Like I don't know. I think that there's different things you can do for sure. I think any of them are better than what we have now. My friend that's a big Clemson fan, he just texted me. Apparently DJ Lagway is looking at Clemson. Clemson's in talks. He just texted me shit. So he's not very excited. But yeah, EJ, let's dive into some of the bowl picks here, and then we'll talk about the 2026 schedule. Tonight, we're doing spread picks, by the way. The Cure Bowl, Old Dominion versus USF. USF favored by 2.5 here at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. EJ, who do you got?
So we're going to be going to that game. I'm interested to see what's going to be happening. I don't know if either of the quarterbacks are going to be playing, Byron Brown and Colton Joseph. This would honestly be, if both of these guys were playing, one of the better duos in the country, quarterback, dual threat quarterback in the country type of situation. But given the fact that it's kind of up in the air, I don't think either of these guys are going to be playing. I'm going to go with USF to win this game. Um, I think USF's defense is better than Old Dominion's. And I think the USF backup quarterback situation is a little bit more where it needs to be,
Favorable for sure, yeah.
favorable than Old Dominion. So I'm going to go Old Dominion.
I agree.
Or sorry,
Hey,
USF.
whoa. No, I'm going USF as well. They're going to cover that 2.5. They're just a more talented team as well. Old Dominion's not even at the top set 6 in their conference, so I'm going USF. Next one we have the Myrtle Beach Bowl. We got it's fun to say Myrtle Beach Bowl. We got Kennesaw State versus Western Michigan. Western Michigan favored by 3.5. These are the conference champs. Give me Western Michigan, man, for sure.
Um, so Western Michigan better defense.
Mm-hmm.
Kennesaw State statistically slightly better offense, not that much better. So I'm gonna go Western Michigan.
Great pick, man. They're hype. Next one, we have the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, man. We got a coachless Memphis versus North Carolina State. North Carolina State favored by 4.5. EJ, who you got?
Uh, so let me see. I'm gonna go with NC State in this one. I think Memphis's defense is not that great, even though NC State's defense statistically is worse. Um, but I'm gonna go. Oh man, this is tough actually because looking at some of these stats, I just put some of these stats together that I'm like gonna wing it here. Um, Memphis has a statistically a better defense, um, and a top 20 scoring offense, but they don't have a coach. So give me NC State upset.
Great pick. That's a great pick. I'm going that way as well, mainly because they're a coachless team, and I like this NC State team. They're nasty. They fight for games, I'm telling you. Next one we have, we're going to go into the first round of the playoff, baby. We got 4 games to pick here, EJ. Starting out with my favorite game of the week, maybe second, is Bama. Number 9, Alabama, favored by 1.5 at number 8, Oklahoma. The rematch in Norman, baby. Give me Bama here, man. They're gonna win and they're gonna cover that 1.5. Look, that Oklahoma game in Bryant-Denny was an absolute fluke. It wasn't even close, and Oklahoma still somehow won. I think Kalen DeBoer is gonna have the boys ready. I think that they're something happens with Bama in the playoffs. I think they're gonna be nasty, dude. I think they're gonna get a dub here in Norman, get a little revenge.
How many maroon and white teams do we have in the freaking SEC? You got Alabama, you got even though they say they're crimson, then you got Oklahoma, then you got Texas A&M, then you got Mississippi State. Everybody got the same damn colors. Can y'all have some different colors around here? Anyway, Alabama, I think statistically has a better quarterback. Ty Simpson has been statistically better. The question is, can Oklahoma do to Alabama what they did the first game and what Georgia did in the previous game? Um, because I give the edge to Oklahoma's defense in this one. I also give Oklahoma the edge playing at home. Uh, I think this is going to be a game where I like Oklahoma. Something tells me Oklahoma, but go with who you think's going to win and then flip it. So give me Bama.
I like those that logic, EJ. I'm trying to catch up to you, EJ. You're kicking my ass out here, dude. Next one we have number 10 Miami at number 7 Texas A&M. Texas A&M favored by 3.5. Who do you got?
So here's the interesting thing. I usually go with the team that has the better quarterback and the better defense. Statistically, Miami has both. Carson Beck has a better touchdown to interception race. Well, not really. He's got 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 8.73 yards per attempt. Marcel Reed, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 8.6 yards per attempt. So it's actually a relatively even quarterback battle. Also, when you look at the defense, Miami has given up 4.51 yards per play. That's 11th nationally. Texas A&M 5 yards per play, 19th nationally. I think playing at home is going to give them the advantage in this game. I think that the intangibles and the ability to break down the defense is going for Marcel Reed is going to give them the advantage. And I like the Texas A&M defense to get after Carson Beck and make life hell for him. He's not a great quarterback under pressure. Give me the Aggies very close. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is going to be a phenomenal game here. I got to take Texas A&M though. Miami sneaking their way into the playoff, not even being in the ACC championship after some couple brutal losses. They do play really well usually in these bigger games though. But you're going to number one. Why in the hell is this a noon game while James Madison's going to Oregon at night. That's some bullshit in my opinion, but it's fine. Yeah, give
That's
me
some BS.
terrible, man. Still give me the 12th man. I don't think Miami's gonna be ready for that. You know what I mean? Was at an 11 Central kickoff, right, for Texas A&M over there? Yeah, give me the Aggies, baby, all
9
day
a.m.
long.
on the West Coast.
Jesus, that's brutal. Next one we have, number 20 Tulane. The Fighting John Summeralls, man, are going to number 6 Ole Miss in Oxford. Ole Miss favored by 17.5. Give me Tulane to cover, baby. I don't think they're gonna win. I think Ole Miss is gonna win this one, but give me Tulane to cover. I think they're fighting for John Summerall. John Summerall just donated what did he donate? Like a couple 100,000 or something or whatever it was to, or million. I think no, it wasn't a million. I think it was 100,000 to the organization with hiring their next coach, which they already did. I think he was like the passing game coordinator or whatever. Horrible hire in my opinion. They could have got someone way better, but they hire that guy. He just donated to Tulane. Tulane loves him. Tulane's gonna play for him. Tulane's gonna fight. They're gonna make it a little bit closer than it was last time in Oxford. Give me Tulane.
Give me Tulane to win outright. I'm just kidding. Y'all wanted to hear that, right? John Summerall, more playoff coaching experience than Lane Kiffin, and we wanted Lane Kiffin. So there you go. Yeah, Ole Miss, better quarterback, better defense. This is one of those games where I'm kind of like, yeah, one group of 5 teams should get in. But that should be it. I hate to see that this is a rematch from earlier in the season. Because of that, I think it will be a little bit closer, given the fact that both of these coaching staffs are like, what the hell? Ole Miss, new coaching staff, Golding, their coaching staff, head coach now is like, I'm the head coach. What do I do? John Summerall is like, 1 foot out the door, go Gators. So it'll be an interesting playoff game. I think Ole Miss will win by 14. I don't think they'll win by as many as what they're saying.
Dang, EJ, I'm trying to go opposite of you, dude. I'm trying to. I don't know. We're like, I think I'm 4 under you, right? I think I'm 4 under you right now on the all-time list, bro. And you're not letting me get ahead. Great pick though. Next one we have number 24 James Madison at number 5 Oregon. Number 5 Oregon favored by 21.5. Give me the Oregon Ducks. Give me the Oregon Ducks, man. I mean, look, Bob Chesney is going. I love that name. It's so funny. Bob Chesney will be coaching in this game, by the way, as well, even though he accepted the head coaching job at UCLA, which I think, by the way, was a great hire. But I don't know. It's a night game. If this is a neutral site, I think that obviously James Madison covers that. They got to go to Oregon, man. Give me Oregon.
Here's the question. Is Billy Napier going to be at this game?
Yeah, I heard that he's calling plays.
Oh, Oregon by 1 million. I'm just like, why we gotta do that to our old guy? Why we gotta do that to him? Yeah, this is the game where I'm just like, why the hell is this a game? This should be Notre Dame at Oregon or Vanderbilt at Oregon. This should be like a legit playoff game. We should not have a playoff game, guys, that is a 22-point spread. It should. Now, if you play the game and Ohio State blows you out like they did against Tennessee, okay. But to go into the game as a 22-point underdog just means that we do not have the 12 best teams playing in this playoff. So it's just ridiculous. Something tells me James Madison's going to fight. James Madison was one of the president. Wait, was he a president? Did he sign the Declaration of Independence?
He was a founding father.
He's a founding father. So that means he drank rum, because that's what George Washington did. They drank a lot of rum. So they're going to be drunk and pissed at Autzen Stadium. And they're going to be pissed because people like you and me don't think they should be in there. But that's only going to last until like the second quarter. Then the dam's going to break and Oregon's going to run away with it. Give me Oregon to win and to cover, but 22 points. It's going to be very good. 42-20. It's going to be, Vegas is going to look very smart with this spread. Right there.
Oh yeah, no, it's a scary spread for sure. So you're going Oregon as well, EJ?
Going to Oregon
Okay.
as well. Slightly. You see that? You see that? Plank.
Honestly,
Nanometer.
I really want to
Nanometer.
flip my pick here, because I feel like I got to do something different, but I got to stick with Oregon though, because I can see James Madison getting inside that 22 easy, for sure. This is a team that their only loss came to Louisville, I believe, 28-14, and every other game they played in, they absolutely dominated, except for at Georgia State. Every other game they were great in, counting Old Dominion, who they beat 63-23. And so this is a dangerous little
Oh,
team.
wow. Okay. Okay. Okay.
They
James
have
Madison.
Bob
Okay.
Chesney's a great coach, and he's gonna have these guys ready. And that's why I think that first half is gonna be a little weird, but a night game and talent wise, yeah. By the way, James Madison, least I think they're the second or the least talented team in the Sun Belt, and they're playing like this, which is another testament to Bob Chesney. Give me Oregon though. I'm with you there, EJ. All right, so that's gonna be our picks for this week. You guys let us know your thoughts down below, baby. It's gonna be a crazy one for sure. Starting with the Cure Bowl down tonight. EJ, let's talk about this. We got to get out of here soon, but let's just take a quick look at this and just give our thoughts real quick on the 2026 Florida Gator football schedule. Gonna put that on the screen for everyone. Boom, there it is. Just gonna kind of go through the schedule real quick. So we start out easy. September 5th, September 12th, we got Florida Atlantic and the Campbell Camels in the swamp. Can't wait to see those unis. So starting up a pretty smooth here, man. First time we've had an easy start in a long time, you know. I guess this year we did kind of, but this is like a very, Florida Atlantic had, I think, 4-8 this past year. They're trash. Campbell, obviously FCS, so
Yeah. Last time we played FAU in the swamp, it went to overtime, and we had to get an interception and run it back, and then we had to on the third down in overtime, it was pass interference and they didn't call it because it were the Gators and we're playing at home. So, FAU will remember that. But unfortunately, Lane Kiffin ain't there anymore. So I feel like this is going to be a big time win for the Gators in the first game. Then, I like playing the Camels as a little warm up game before Auburn, get the work out the final kinks. But that Auburn game is going to be fascinating
yeah. That's
on
this.
September the 19th. Hey, we should go to that game.
No, I really want to go to that game.
Yeah, we should definitely go to that game because, I have a lot of friends who are Auburn fans. I have a lot of friends who are engineers. So Auburn is big for engineering, apparently. So, we need to go to this game. And I was born in Alabama. Um, oh, and we've mentioned this at the last podcast, but just to reiterate, it's because these teams are going to 9 conference games. That means every other year, most teams are going to have 5 home games, 4 road games, and then the next year you have 4 home games, 5 road games. So you switch. Because we play Georgia and Jacksonville and Texas and Oklahoma play a neutral site game, every year you're going to have 4 home, 4 away, neutral site. So we won't have one of those years where it's like it is this year, where it's completely unfavorable because they count the neutral site game as one of your home games. And so you actually lose a home game, which is what happened this year. Like the Georgia game was considered a home game. So we only played 3 games in the swamp and we played 4 true road games in the SEC, which is kind of like not fair, right? So they fixed that with this 9-game schedule. So we play 4-4, 1 neutral, which is great. I like our schedule. I think it's doable. It's the SEC. We do pick up Oklahoma. We have to go at Texas. We pick up South Carolina and Missouri and Auburn. Um, those are tough games. And then I absolutely hate how we have to play Oklahoma, then Kentucky, and then I think we play Vanderbilt, right? Is it Vanderbilt
Yeah.
on the schedule next year?
Yep.
Um, Yeah, so that's actually
Well,
pretty.
so here's the thing I want to talk about though. So we got, and we'll get to that for sure. But this is a very favorable schedule when it comes to bye weeks and when it comes to home games. So we obviously play Auburn right after the 2 easy games. I think that's a nice ramp up to going to Auburn, Alabama, playing Golish there. I think that another first year guy. I think this is a great, it's gonna be a tough environment, but and we'll be, depending on how we look, we'll have some momentum. I'm sure they'll have some momentum. Actually, who do they? I wonder who they play. Let's see. Do you want to look that up for me, EJ? See who Auburn plays those first 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's look that up really quick here. Let
Because
me
I'm curious how they're going to be coming into that game.
So we play them on what, the 26th?
The 19th.
The 19th? Oh crap. This is the 2025. Let's see what we got here. Auburn football releases their 2026 schedule.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they start out with Baylor. That's the Aflac kickoff game. That's going to be fun.
And then they play Southern Miss. So they got a little warm-up game before us. So hopefully Baylor will expose them a little bit, and DJ Lagway transfers to Baylor and exposes them a little bit. And then, wait, who's at Southern Miss now? Isn't
that the Marshall, the old Marshall coach?
I thought that your favorite defensive coordinator wanted to go back and be at Southern Miss.
Yeah.
Austin Armstrong.
No, he's defensive coordinator for Houston at the moment.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, yeah, now that we're looking at this, a lot of these teams do have new head coaches, and will be completely different, philosophies. And same with us, going into next season. I mean, Auburn will be. Let me tell you, Golish is going to have a very difficult attack to defend.
Especially
but I like Sumrall, especially early on. But the good thing about Sumrall is they destroyed USF did they play USF this year? I think they won that game pretty handedly. And he's at least used to playing against the Alex Golish attack. So that will be very helpful. I don't know how the Ole Miss offense will be structured next year. They have to still get a new offensive coordinator. Then we have to go to Columbia to play the Fighting Drinkowitz.
But before you get into that, we got the bye week between Auburn and Ole Miss. So that's – or no, sorry, we don't. We don't. But like you said, that's not bad because you have Ole Miss coming to Gainesville. If that was another away game right there, 2 away games early on, back to back, I'd be pretty frustrated with that. But I like that we kind of have a buffer there, and that we're going back to the swamp to play Ole Miss before we got to go back out. So I really like that placement.
Well, I also don't like the fact we don't have 2 bye weeks this year. Like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 bye weeks this year. We don't have 2 bye weeks this upcoming year, so that's kind of crappy. We have to go to Texas again. They're going to want redemption. You're basically playing Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma back to back to back. So that's a tough 3-game stretch right there. Then for some reason, we have to play at Kentucky 2 years in a row because we played at Kentucky this year. So do they play us 2 years in a row in Gainesville? Who knows? Vanderbilt is in Gainesville, and that's going to be a tough game right before FSU. Why the heck does FSU always get like a bye week basically before they play us? Even though I guess it doesn't matter because we played Tennessee and then we absolutely destroyed FSU. But I would like to see a little bit more of a equity in that from that standpoint because Vanderbilt's no joke anymore.
No, I agree. I totally agree. The second half there is definitely the hardest stretch. Texas. We do have the bye week right before Georgia, though, as always. We're playing in Atlanta, by the way, because, the Jacksonville field's getting fixed, and then we're going to Tampa next year. So that's going to be a home game for for Georgia. And then we have that bye though. So I look, it could be a lot worse. But going to Texas and then going, having the bye week and then going to play Georgia and Atlanta, and then I think Oklahoma being home is really beneficial as well. And then we go to Kentucky, and then we got Vanderbilt and Florida State. So if you're a normal fan looking at this, you go, "Oh man, this is definitely a tough schedule." But as a Gator fan who's dealt with what we have had in the past, it's pretty favorable, honestly.
Well, I thought that they were going to. Well, this is what they said. Who knows? I thought that they were going to let Georgia, or the Georgia game was still going to be 50-50. Like they were going to sell half the tickets to University of Georgia and then half the tickets to Florida, and then we make it 50-50 still. Um, I don't know if that's still the case or if that was only in Jacksonville. Because, that was the issue with the Georgia fans cry, or, Kirby Smart crying about, well, why do we have to play in Jacksonville? It's a Gator game. And I'm kind of like, it's equidistant between Georgia and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and then North Florida usually is not really like considered Florida. Like you have to get south of the Panhandle to be like, okay, this is Florida, you know? So it's really just southern Georgia if you really want to know the truth. But anyway, um, yeah, what's the most important game next year, do you think will be for Sumrall and the gang to show us that they got something?
Auburn. I think it's very important to get, because if you beat Auburn, I think you start 4-0, with possibly 5-0, but Missouri will be a tough one. I think a game that would suck to drop would be Texas, which I think that is probably going to be a loss. But if you somehow go to Texas and beat Texas, you got that bye week, you have Georgia. I think that's the most beneficial win. But if we're looking at it from a realistic standpoint, what game do we kind of need to win? It needs to be Auburn. Because I think you're starting 4-0 when you beat Ole Miss as well in Gainesville, new coach, and I don't think Pete Golden's even a great defensive coordinator. And then you have, a couple of nice games there. So that's how I view it. I think the Auburn game is a very, very important game here. I think also too Kentucky, Oklahoma, some of those later games. But I think starting out the year strong is pretty significant.
Yeah, I would agree too. I think that Auburn game is going to be, I think it's going to be the tale of the direction of two programs. I mean, Florida and Auburn have, I don't think either team has won. When's the last time we won 8 games? Oh, last year. Well, when's the last time we won 8 games in a regular season?
2020.
Yeah, because I don't think Auburn's won 8 games in a regular. They've been 5-7 every year too. So that game, I think, is going to be the game that is going to um, show which program is going to be the best of the worst and be on the upward trend. Um, New coaching staff, which team is adapting to the SEC, who's going to be the more physical team. That is going to be the game that is going to show us a lot. And like I said, if you win that game, you come back home, you play Ole Miss. It's not going to be your grandma's Ole Miss, high flying, up and down the field. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see who they get for offensive coordinator. But apparently, Lane Kiffin's going to pilfer the roster in January 2nd, or pillage, or whatever the word is. And it's going to be slim pickings for Ole Miss, because it's like, well, why should I go to Ole Miss? Like, that's literally what it's going to be. And so we should be able to go home and smack them in the face. And we almost beat them this year. So there's that too.
Yeah, that's why I'm not too worried about that. All time, by the way, I have it on screen. We're at 39 wins against Auburn. They're 43 against us, and we tied 2 times. And so, but we obviously beat them last time in 2019. It's crazy. This is such like a yearly rivalry, and just ended in 2007. And then we had one in 2011, one in 2019. So excited for that rivalry to kind of come back, EJ, considering they're going to be coming to the Swamp next year again for the first time since 2019. So, which was one of my favorite games. So that's awesome to see. But there you go. That's going to be our schedule review there, man. Very happy. Could have been 10 times worse. Love kind of how it's structured. Really excited. Going to go to that Auburn game for sure. I want to buy tickets to that while we can. It's going to be a massive one there. And, yeah, Brad White and all them going back to Kentucky. Obviously, Kentucky is one of our regular opponents alongside South Carolina and Georgia. So that's going to be our opponents no matter what for the next 4 years.
And isn't Kentucky their new coach is
Yeah, the
Will
guy
Stein?
Will Stein from Oregon. Oh, is Will Stein coaching in the Oregon game?
That's the thing. I'm just like,
Hold up. That's actually we got to go.
this
But I want to
is.
see Will
Oh yeah, I gotta
Will
go.
Stein coach at Oregon. Let's see. Okay. Yep. He's gonna still coach. Okay. Well, that's fine. But yeah, there you guys go. All right, EJ. That's going to be it for today, man. We appreciate you guys watching this. Any comments down below, man? Any questions you guys got, comment down below, man. If you don't agree with our takes, let us know. If you do, let us know. Give this video a like. And, yeah, we'll be back next week, baby. It's going to be a great time.
And next week, I'll probably do a live, just a basketball, the non-conference overview, then going to the SEC, because we got some basketball fans and want to talk some hoops.
Yes, sir. Love that. So keep an eye out for that. We appreciate you guys, man. And we'll see you next week. Go Gators.